I'm coming to you from the back seat of our Model Y, and there's a very good reason for that. I have a new accessory that I did install. Of course, some of you already know I've installed this. I put a little bit of a hint on Instagram and Twitter, but this is a new screen from Hansshow. And full disclosure, I was provided this screen from Hansshow to put on and do a review. And like all products, you will get an honest opinion, an honest review on this. Is this screen worth it? It's a lot of money. That's really the question that everybody's asking. And I think that there are some situations where it is, but I also think there's some situations where it's not. It does add some nice capability to the car, but is it enough? And I think that's all dependent on you, the consumer. I will show you how this works because for what it is, it's very nice. It does a lot of nice things, and there's some other features on here that you wouldn't think about that are actually nice to have as well. So we're gonna dive into that review now, and then we will follow this up with the full install of this unit. This is a new 7.5-inch touchscreen from Hansshow. It just came out just recently, and this is 100% plug and play. So you do not have to splice wires, you don't have to cut into any wiring harness. It is plug and play, and overall the install could probably be done in about 20 or 30 minutes. It really does not take that much time to do. Of course, it takes me longer because I have to set up cameras, lights, all that stuff, but it is not a very difficult install either. And if you've done some basic installations in the past, you will have no problem doing this. This unit comes at $548 at time of filming, and that's quite a bit of money, and probably why you really want to make sure it's something that you are going to get value out of if you're going to purchase it. Now, of course, with code BTG, you can get closer to $450, $465 at today's price, and that is a way to bring it down, but that's still quite a bit of money. For that money, here's what you get. Of course, you get climate control in the back. It allows you also to control the heated seats in these back seats. But another thing that's kind of cool, it allows you to run the heat on one side and AC on the other. Maybe a heated seat over here, cool somebody off over here. That's kind of a nice new capability. It gives you split climate control just like you have in the front of the car. Another interesting thing that it adds is the ability to adjust and move this front passenger seat. You can move it forward and back, you can recline it, all from the screen back here. And another thing that it does, depending on which year Tesla Model 3 or Y that you have, it adds massaging seats to both the driver and passenger seat. Now, if you have an old enough one, you'll get both sides, but current ones, only the driver's seat has lumbar today. So that's the only one that's going to work because it uses that lumbar to give you the sensation of a massage. So that does now give you that capability, which I guess is nice. But if you want to remove those two features, number one, being able to control this seat and not having the massaging seats, you can actually disconnect both of those wiring harnesses from the main harness. So you don't have to run wires to these seats. Everything can be right here, and it would be even faster to do the install. In my opinion, the biggest thing that it adds is the capability of streaming shows, movies, what have you, right here in the screen in the back of the car. And it allows you to listen to those videos in 3 different ways. Number one, you can listen to it directly on the unit. There are 2 speakers that it does add to the car right here at the bottom. Now, they're not the highest quality speakers. It doesn't sound amazing or anything, but if you just want to have a show streaming and just let the kids listen to it in the back, it works perfect for that. You can adjust the volume, of course, all that stuff. Number 2, you can stream this video to the car itself. So all the speakers in the car would then play the audio. And then of course, number 3, Bluetooth headphones. So you can connect a Bluetooth headphone set to this screen and you can listen to it there. It also has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And I'm not sure exactly what all you would use that for. Maybe for listening to music, or maybe there's some other apps you want to have displayed on this rear seat. I guess you could do directions on here, although I don't know why you would, but it does allow you to do that nonetheless. It has a Google Play Store, so you can add apps. So it comes preloaded with things like YouTube and Netflix, but you can also add Amazon Video. You cannot, however, add Disney Plus. That does not show up in the Google Play Store as being compatible with this device. So you can't do Disney Plus, but you will be able to do all those other things that you would think of, including, I guess, TikTok and some version of Instagram. So there are a number of apps that you can add to this to give it even more capability. On the pro side of this, this looks very seamless. It looks like it came in the car. It's set up really nice. looks like it was always a part of this car, and that's one thing that is very nice about this. The screen itself is also very responsive. It does not seem to lag like some older units used to. It's pretty good, and having the type of capability that it does allows you to do quite a bit with it, more than just one or two basic functions. Another thing that's nice about it is you're adding a screen and still being able to have airflow. But that's also a con, because the airflow is not less airflow. You still get the same volume of air. However, you can't pivot that air up and down. It's only left and right now, and it's a little bit smaller of a vent. So again, same volume of air, of course, but you don't have the flexibility of pointing that air up in the air or down towards the ground. It's going to be in the same spot all the time. In addition, so it is limited to 1080 essentially. It's not a 4K screen, which in 2023 is kind of a letdown, but it is a very crisp image, and it's because the screen isn't all that big and you're going to be sitting this far away. It does give a very nice image. The colors are good, it is crisp enough, and it does get the job done very nicely. I would say one of the biggest pros of this is ease of install. It really was simple to install. You do have to remove a few pieces from what was here before and switch it over to this, like the USB plugs, and it does come with different faceplates depending on if you have USB-A or USB-C, so that's nice as well. That does allow you to keep the existing USB plugs there, same reliability, all that stuff, and transfer it over to this unit. It also doesn't necessarily take up any additional space. Everything else below it is still in the same spot, and everything's nice and tucked away, which is nice. Really, the hardest part of this is tucking wires, and if you're not even going to do these front two seats, it's even easier. So here are the people that I think would get value out of this. We are going to enjoy this. When we got our Model X, that back screen, I didn't really think anything of it. I thought it was nice to have, but who cares? After we took delivery of our Model X, the boys watch that thing all the time, and they constantly ask if we can go in the black car because they want to watch the screen. So it's actually added quite a bit of value. And the downfall of that, though, is you can only listen to what's playing on that screen or the radio, not both. So when they're watching something in the back, we all have to listen to it from the back speakers with nothing playing in the front of the car. And this, being able to listen to whatever this is doing, even without having headphones, and still being able to listen to the radio, I think that's really nice. Especially, again, if you have kids. You're going to be able to have your peace of mind in the front. It's going to be quiet in the back. They're going to watch their show. Everybody's going to be happy. The flip side of kids in the back, if you leave all the capability here, you can't necessarily lock this thing out, so they can press buttons galore, and depending on how touchy your children are, that may get real annoying really fast. Now for us, we didn't necessarily have too big of a problem with them doing that, so we are fortunate, but I can just see come this summer, fights over somebody's foot touching the screen and it stops the show, does whatever. So that is definitely one of the drawbacks to it, is you can't lock the screen out after you start something up. And even if you could, because you can't control it from anything but the screen, you wouldn't be able to start a new show or anything like that until you stop somewhere and come back here to make those adjustments. Now potentially somebody sitting in this passenger seat could reach back and do that, but probably not going to be the easiest thing. Another thing, because this thing is set up in China, it is set up for that system for temperature, and when you change this over to Fahrenheit, it does it in decimals. It's really weird. So I cannot set this to 69 degrees, which is our preferred temperature in here, but I can set it to 68.9 degrees. It's a little weird that it does that. I'm sure if they allow a software upgrade in the future, that should definitely be something they should fix. Right now I have this set up to the Wi-Fi on my house, and that's perfect. It's going to work fine, but as soon as I pull out this driveway, it's going to disconnect. So you either have to connect this to the hotspot on your phone or a different hotspot that you carry with you. It does seem to have a slot for a SIM card. I believe that you can add 4G to the screen and always have service. It even displays it on the screen that it's there. It does not specifically call it out in the directions or on the information on this thing, but I believe that you can use 4G on this from whatever provider that you ultimately have. So that is going to be a nice thing to consider depending on price, if it's really worth it or not. It's pretty easy to use too, so navigating through all The settings was pretty straightforward and intuitive. But another thing that was really nice, I ended up putting some videos on a thumb drive, plugged that in, and it will actually play videos from an external device, which is really great. Now, do know this, you have to format that device before you load content onto it. So plug it into here, go through the settings to format that device, and then you can load everything and stick it in and play. The other person who would get value out of this is rideshare. If you're an Uber driver or Lyft or whatever, having the screen back here, that's an added service, an added value to your customers. So if you are very tip dependent, perhaps, I can't guarantee it, but perhaps that would give them a next level of an experience in the Uber, not just being in a Tesla, but also being able to have a show playing, or if it's playoff season, perhaps streaming the game on the screen while you're taking them to and from. That could be kind of nice. So if you are a Lyft driver, an Uber driver, I think that this would probably pay for itself relatively quickly in the quantity and volume of tips, I would think. Other than that, if your kids are stuck on their phones, you have older children, they're TikToking on their phones, they're probably not going to use this at all. And the only thing they would probably use it for is setting the heated seats, setting the climate control to their liking, and that's about it. So if nobody's back here, or it's just your kids back here that are much older, it's probably not worth it. And this does have some of those other drawbacks as well, like the airflow is not as nice as it was before because it's not as adjustable. So those are a couple of drawbacks to really think about. And of course the price, it's very expensive. It's a lot of money for a screen, especially when you're talking about, you could buy an iPad, you could buy 2 iPads for that price. So there's a lot to really think about with this, but if you decide you want it, I think it's a good unit. It does work really well. For us, it's going to be perfect because I've got shows loaded. We're going to stream shows, and you know we go on road trips all the time. This is going to be added peace of mind for the front 2 people for what's going on in this back seat. Now understand, for me, I have to set up cameras, I have to set up lights. It takes me longer to install anything. So my best guess, if I didn't have to do all that, just diving straight into this is a 25 to 30 minute install. It's really not that complicated, very straightforward. I'm going to show you how to do that here for the last half of this video, and that way you can see if this is something that you want to tackle yourself. It's really not that complicated. This is not a hard install, and it is all plug and play, which is perfect. Plug and play is the way to go. Nothing complicated about that. So there you have it. There's the install. I think it's a very nice unit. I think it does have some drawbacks and it's very expensive. Other than that, I think it is pretty nice. We are definitely going to get value out of it. If I had not gotten this one for free, to be honest with you, I probably would have bought one. I don't know if it would have specifically been this one or a different one, but it wouldn't have been because the capabilities on this are different. I might have gone for something cheaper, is the only thing I would have done different if I was paying for it myself. But after having the Model X, having that screen back there, I knew right away that all of a sudden these screens that have been coming from the aftermarket, those were going to be high on my list, and Hansshow did provide this one, again, full disclosure, and this is going to be perfect for us. So overall, it's very difficult to say exactly from a review standpoint if this is worth it. It functions really well. It does exactly what you would think, and it adds certainly capability in the car, which I really like. It does change the way airflow works back here, which I don't like. It does not cut on airflow though, which is very different than that screen that goes in front of the steering wheel, which literally cuts airflow from hitting you completely. Also, all these other features, are you even going to use them? And for us, we absolutely will, but for some people, this is probably never going to get used other than some basic uses like changing the climate. With all of that in mind, I think that this is worth it for some people, and for others, it's not worth your time. And that is really the reality here. For us, this is going to be perfect. For you, it may not be, but I am happy with this particular unit. It does work very nice. I wish it was 4K, and I wish there was a better way to control the airflow, but without going with a bigger screen that pops out, I think that this is probably the best one that you can get out there, but price, again, being on the high side. So if you want to get this, you can get your standard 15% off with code BTG at Handshow's website. I do have the link in the description for you. I do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, of course, give it the thumbs up. If you haven't already, of course, subscribe to the channel as we continue to post content regularly. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Bearded Tesla. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.